So this will be the second video. Thank you, OBS, for crashing. As stated, the build is Werewolf, focusing on Shred. As I stated, the main concern right now is how well this build will carry into the late game. I think the seat of my build is that I will be able to kill larger mobs than what we are seeing here without much issue, and it's very hard to say if that would be true, as I think this build in particular is incredibly greedy in mob size, and basically relying on my skill, or anyone who uses this build skill, to pack manage enemies and guide them into your powerful AoEs, manage your resources, and as you can see, I die to what should be a very simple mob. Part of the conceit with this build is the idea that if we pack manage correctly, we will be able to basically sit on top of important enemies and shred them to death. In effect, treating this build very much like a build from D3 that people would be very aware of. It was a Demon Hunter build. I can't remember its name, but it basically focused on being very fast with the map and using your Demon Hunter skills to phase through all the enemies, to find the elites, and to kill them for the purpose of farming at the time, whatever they called the capstone dungeons, the gen dungeons, or what have you. Builds like that were very good in D3. I don't necessarily believe they are as good in PoE 2. But that being said, I do think my build feels fun to play, which of course for myself is really the most important part. I want to play builds that feel fun. I think the other issue with this build is that many of the pack modifiers and the ways that I'm going to be managing enemies inherently put me at more risk to die than others. So a good example is W. I spoke about this in the last video. The W will carry you forward when you target an enemy. So you can see I've got the target, I take a step forward. So if you have a series of enemies grouped up in a clump, you need to plan who you are targeting, such that you can hit as many enemies as possible with your powerful AoEs, especially in a build like this, where I am relying on Shred to do the heavy lifting of my DPS. I'm not relying on the Volcano hardly at all, except with the exception of bosses, and basically there I am using it as a cheat for more DPS.
Crying out for release.
The Druid class overall feels very good, and I'm certain that doing the type of build that I'm doing, at the very least, is incredibly greedy, especially in a game like PoE, which can easily punish you for that type of greed by virtue of the types of elites you fight, or the types of mobs that you run into. However, I do personally, again, I don't necessarily know if I love the idea of trying to manage every single form and every single ability of every single form, because it feels like many of the abilities synergize it feels like many abilities, while they synergize with each other, kind of fight each other. It does feel to me like the game needs you to quote-unquote pick a path where you pick maybe 2 of the 3 and you focus on synergistic abilities within those 3 such that you would get the biggest benefit and get the quote-unquote biggest payoff. So we can see as I stated, as greedy as the build is, and especially against status inflicting enemies, you can get punished. But the build has a very good DPS, especially as it pertains to Shred. If you are unencumbered by status effects, you can end up attacking very, very fast. And again, as I stated before, I think attacking very fast is conducive to applying a ton of effects on hit. As we can see, when I blow up the enemies with a frozen, we get the little AoE, the little post-hoc explosion going off behind me there. Supplemental effects like that are nice. I'm not necessarily focused on triggering them, I'm going out of my way for them, but they are nice to have because they help me to pick my battles, so to say. I think if there was an improvement on this build that I was to make, I think probably a better way to play this would be to have early bear, early wyvern abilities, such that you would get the benefit of those skills and the other skills that feed into them. We can see that I'm missing this every time that happens. I think it would be better to have more skills rather than being as greedy as I'm being, trying to solo DPS down these giant mobs, especially before having significantly good gear. Really, in this build, my best gear is this talisman drop, and that talisman will only carry me so far, especially as it pertains to the bosses that I think this build will suffer with, which will be bosses like Count Geonor, summon minions, have transitory phases, and punish you for sitting on top of them. They can very easily, just like other aspects of the game, punish you for being incredibly greedy. This is a very cool area. Shit, I don't have a track now.
This altar.
God, what the fuck is this? Okay, so we're making our own levels now. Ooh.
This temple grows strangers.
Man, I was smart to make a fast level. I'm sure I will regret how easy I've made this. I'm sure that this is something to be farmed or do better than this. But at this point, I'd rather just get through this content and get back to the story mode, mission. As we can see, with these smaller mods, is where my greed kind of quote-unquote pays off, because the shred damage, the ability to blow up Augments a rare item with a new random modifier. Rare. What do I have for a rare item? Oops, I turned into a bear. This is a magic item. Should this not work? Maybe not. Ooh. Again, a good example of not pack managing correctly. In terms of my own greed, I should really be freezing all the enemies in the room, or at the very least, putting them in a group. I think if I were to take the totem ability, the intent of taking the totem ability outside of the DPS increase would be using the totem as the monster aggro machine, something for them to hit and to focus on, so that I can single target DPS the valued enemies and deal with the most troublesome things and not worry about them. I think a good example of why I do have to worry a little bit about the longevity of this build though is the physical DPS drop off. In order to make this build work, kind of gambling. I'm going to get a, I would almost say like gamble that I'm going to consistently get not only upgrades, but upgrades with meaningful stat improvements, inclusive of getting physical damage on some of my items, inclusive of getting more elemental affixes to continue to apply things. I think there's a real risk that this build drops off much before I think it will. Let's get dexterity here. Increase magnitude of chill, please. Let's go back. In the interest of time, let's go around this area. Snap over to the Temple of the Consort and go deal with our friend the Caster Lady. I will say running as a werewolf makes me feel cool. And I do think that even if the shred build is the wrong way to go, I do think that it has value as part of other builds. I think if you had a better complement, perhaps use the bear AoEs off of the guaranteed freeze that comes with this build, you could do quite a lot of damage. I mean, they basically gave the werewolf the barbarian the earthquake, and then gave the werewolf the ability to consistently land the earthquake, which good asphalt area, I'm sure they would take that, especially for such a long cast time. The bears is basically kings. As we can see, thin corridors like this are excellent for me. Really give me all the control that I need to pack manage and to get value out of my giant AoEs, set off my frost explosions to auto attack the enemies. See how we do. Just angry GM. I do wish I was a bit faster on Killer Lake though. You would think I would be faster. Try to freeze her. Ooh, I am gonna die if I get yet I broke down her shield. I start being so careful that I'm being incredibly greedy to approach with full effect. But I do want to show off just how much damage you can get in when an enemy is frozen. Into a basically half health there. Very meaningful damage, especially given no, I can jump over. Perfect. That's on you. As you can see, I'm trying to attack move quite a bit out of her abilities. Just to dodge, and I was able to kill her in 2 frozen rotations. Oh, I want the crown, please and thank you. Yeah, we'll take that. Minion skills is a little bit useless, but we will take that. So as we saw in that fight, the value of the build, I believe, is more getting single target DPS for singular bosses. I think it'd be very hard to argue like that. I think other builds could do the same thing a bit better, obviously, because they would have more skills that would directly support their auto attacks and would directly support putting modifiers on them, putting on hit effects on them, even to have other synergistic spells with them.
Can you carry any more?
But that being said, I think the Werewolf transformation specifically does an excellent job of making you feel powerful and allowing you to get value out of your shamanistic transformations. As we can see, once I start building some momentum on these maps, it does feel very, very fast in terms of getting levels and traveling. Even just auto-attacking rare monsters that pop up. Pretty easy to kill things that don't have that good defense. You can see smaller packs like that, really no trouble at all. Please come here, sir. I'd like to kill you in the... Hunted it anyways, we take that. Outside of that, as I mentioned, I do believe that this build is a bit greedy. I think it would be foolish to assume, the way that I have, that you are going to get meaningful drops that increase all the DPS that you will need to keep this build relevant. I think in the ultra late game in maps, this particular way of playing would drop off. I think you would need to spec into, at the very least, some fair AoE abilities, spec into the Wyvern abilities. Again, we didn't look much at level 7 or 11 skills or anything. I do think that just reading on one class with this type of class will be foolish, but that being said, I am going to be foolish for the sake of experimentation. With the build being in alpha, or I guess we could call it beta, unreleased, whatever we're calling this, I don't think it's that silly to say we can experiment.
Hello. I like to hold on to
Another,
bits and pieces.
ooh, actually, I was going to test if
catch
this
your
works.
eye?
Does this work? You can. Okay, so I'm going to actually keep that. I'm going to keep that wand with the intent of just keeping a wand. I did mention that if I found a wand and we could use it,
Finn
I would
makes
like
fun of my
that.
collection, but I think it's charming. I will treasure it.
Another important, I suppose, note for newer players, these random drops that you get, you don't necessarily have to use them. You can simply sell if they're
Stay safe,
applicable, or
if you
if you
can.
want to be more involved in
Here's what I
trade,
got.
obviously you can trade them. Element of rejuvenation, life, ability. We were looking for a belt.
Till next time.
Let's see if
Yes. These are just some odds and ends of mine.
chaos bolt gain 14% of extra fire and +1 to spells. That could be, but I don't want to commit to chaos bolt just yet.
Ah, who knows what prizes await.
Cannot afford random belt.
Watch yourself out there.
Put on some of these amulets. Okay. And we won't use that yet. We've got a skill gem, this skill gem, this skill gem. We do need this gem. We do want this. Keep this one for later. Keep some inventory management here. We want the support gems. This is gems. Oops. Okay. This we also want. Well, actually, we said we were stash the extra. We stashed 2 and we stashed 1. The rest. Let's look at some future ones. Thunderstorm. On the ground. Devour. Shapeshift into a devour, into a wyvern, into a devour corpse for callable enemy. Additional corpses. For each corpse devoured, you regenerate life and power charge. You will leap to them. More power charge stuff. War cries. It damages enemies and freezes primed enemies. If an enemy is frozen or a frozen enemy is hit, this skill empowers your attack with added cool damage. Causes empowered slams. Create shield ground and inherits your allies' cool damage. The skill's cooldown can be bypassed by expending an endurance charge. Okay, so empowered slams, eh? So that must be the bear stuff. I think for right now, shockwave, but the totem is a slam though. Causes empowered slams. Great shield. I think for right now we will take the Wing Blast. I think the mobility will be good. Right now our build is very greedy. I think we require some mobility. explosion. Armor break could be good. Lead could be good. We don't want that. Rapid attacks. Deal more elemental damage. Execute could be funny. Freezing. Attacks gain 25% as cold damage on freezing an enemy with the support skill. So you have to freeze the attack. Okay, so the lightning attunement will kind of. So the shred will gain by virtue of Arctic Howl. We will gain cold damage on our attacks, which is kind of what I want. Given that we're gaining cold damage on attacks, if we were to do 20% more elemental attack damage during that, that'd be good. Attack speed is 200% of base. Let's check out our character screen and see how much attack damage we have right now. Okay. So, twice in succession. I want area attack surge. Attacks gain 25% of lightning damage for 8 seconds on calling an enemy. Supported skills have a 100% more chance to shock. You can't do on shred. I did want to try many of these don't even support shred, which I'm sad about. But it's not showing that they do. But you would assume that they do. Yeah, I can engrave it, so I think too cold attunement. And then for Lunar Assault, Volcano probably needs the next support gem. Virgin would be good. Limit. So we could have 2 volcanoes under someone. 2 volcanoes firing for, what would it be, 4 seconds? Projectiles would effectively fire for 8 seconds, so 64 damage. Plus, let's try Virgin, you know. We're still in the early game, so I think we can get away with testing that. let's do freeze build up. We're back on the path.
Draven,
On the path of fighting the legally distinct from the Wraith King boss.
Twisted thing!
Please. That's the... God, I love auto attacking with the werewolf. Feels so stupid, but so nice. I do think on getting the next gem we will take the Howl. Can't imagine how the Howl would be bad for our build. Especially giving us the potential to do even more plays, to do even more effects with our hits, to gain more damage on our hits. We pre-prepped our strikes with the cold attunement, so we should get even more value out of that. It would be very hard to imagine that would be a bad choice. I think after we're done in the tree that I was in with the full build up, we will take the stun. I think the natural alignment between the stun, the freeze, and everything else will really push us to at least being able to clear Act 2 without any problems. Ideally, I would love to see a couple more rares. I think anyone could feel the same. The more rares you can drop earlier, the better. They can very easily carry you through the early game. I'm about 90% certain that I will not have to replace that talisman that I highlighted in the last video until at least Act 2. And I would not doubt that it will last to the start of when we get the next base talisman from our vendor. I think stats-wise, given what my build is trying to do, I'm obviously very interested in attack speed, and crit damage, and elemental effects. Again, if possible, I'd love to get the item that gives you more support gems in your for your skills, such that I can get both the elemental attunement for my auto attacks, thereby giving me even more cold damage once I have the Howl, perhaps the poison modifier, or the combo finisher modifier. I think that's very, very good. Obviously, I'm not testing out the Wyvern Blast right now. You can see that the enemies are showing prime. I don't really care to test it right now. I prefer to test it with the boss, see how much I value the mobility. As I said, if I'm playing this class in this greedy way, I'm basically foregoing using bear skills and effectively foregoing. Okay, so I didn't get the empowerment for the god that. Get into an all-out duel with this man. I think in playing a greedy build such as mine, where I'm gambling on getting attacks and managing waves, I do think that there is something to be said for having mobility skills, having the capacity to fight enemies and to draw them where they need to go. In terms of runes, I'm definitely thinking that my build would love gold runes on my weapons. It would probably love resistances, most everything else. We'll see how the fight goes against obviously the harder boss here, the melee boss. Bosses like this, and bosses like Count Geonor, I think will be bosses that can mega punish how greedy our build is, how imbalanced it is. If the bosses that aren't freezing immediately are going to be much harder to deal with. See how much damage we can do to him. Okay, so we got him to what I would call half health. Yeah, there he is. He's definitely Let's see if we can kill him in this DPS round. Yeah. That felt pretty good. A little bit of danger. Nothing crazy. Flammability magnitude would be nice. I think we take the rare first. 18 to 34. Critical hit chance lower. Attacks per second slightly higher. Adds physical damage. Slightly more attack speed. Life. We will keep that for later. We will swap this out. Let's go talk to our friend, the zombie. If we can find it.
You have the keys.
Ah,
Do my eyes again.
perfect.
At last, it's open. Praise the
This guy will be another
birth
good test of the viability of our build.
What is this? Graves.
Man, stun threshold. We won't use that yet.
Isabel. Talking. Callum. The family of Count Lachlan of Ogham. My family. This doesn't make any sense. Those bastard Eternals.
My
I
family.
must make them pay. I must make them suffer.
Yeah, but why you gotta make me suffer by listening to all that crap? I thought I could freeze him before he was even a little bit prepared. If I was mistaken. He's probably gonna freeze me first, man. My love. Okay, volcano. Oh shit, we jumped away. Losing DPS here, but that's fine. Put another volcano down. Let's catwalk. Ooh, that was a big hit, big hit, big hit. A little bit of hit here. We're taking really needless damage. Again, bosses like this, they're going to put the status ailment on you for staying on top of them. Really going to hurt my build's capability. This is why I heard about Geonor. I think Geonor will really mess with me, with the capability to me. But if we don't do this guy easily enough, this is why anti-affliction
Spare me the same.
and anti, I guess, freeze buildup on my own character. Very, very valuable. Again, with a greedy build like this, if you're going to prioritize DPS, you at least have to plan to not get your DPS at times. At least in the start mode.
The ring.
Our buddy's being revived. We love that for us. Someone has a very cool pet over here. That probably cost them a pretty. Dude has a fucking Amaterasu.
This.
Yes.
So if we are to heal.
This dude is the best dude in the game. Free identify for all the items in our pack. This one's distinctly not
This
good.
hooded one, is he? Take a look.
Sell most thing that we got.
Till
I
next
think we
time.
will stash the spare emblem talisman for the sake of keeping it in case we ever want to swap builds. I'm not convinced I'm on level the volcano. I don't think I'm going to stick with this. The lightning storm could be good. What is spell totem? Oh my god. Totem that uses socketed spells? Free power and or endurance charges. This is generating a power charge. Roll and leap backwards as we gouge the ground. Hitting a marked enemy with both gouges will activate the mark. Shockwave by its fragment will be pulled into location. Okay, it's not going to show it to me. Nice. Wolf pack. Predator's mark. Where the frick is wolf pack? I don't see that anywhere. Thought it'd be something. The level 9. Channel sustained barrage of electrified oil that does not create it. So given that we want to focus on 2, perhaps it's best to do a wyvern-esque build. This ability is going to mess with it. This ability seems really good. Anyway, move on. Nothing different. Here, everything it looks like. I see no reason to continue on.
Here to hunt, are you? See that there? Don't
Yes,
worry.
we are on the hunt.
Ready? Go on then.
Right to animal.
Right, keep
For
up.
some reason,
Don't
the
lose sight
sprite
of it.
orb is not spawning. No, of course it picked this boss.
Wrath is flame. It's getting stronger.
My primal
That's
will.
away.
Ooh, almost condensation. That was damn close. As you can see, the
That were a good
damage
hunt.
is significant.
Aye, if we run enough. Watch yourself, traveller.
At least when we are not threatened by a million other enemies. Really fast. Ooh, yeah. Yeah, you build stuns so fast with this character. I think it would feel very good to have that double hit if possible. Maybe even a fourth support gem just to... Yeah. The fact that you can push people back and jump to them. See a wand. See a rare wand. Oop, I burned to death. Okay, so again, not pack managing correctly. I think I'm getting too focused in on auto-attacking certain enemies. Without respecting enough how many enemies are actually in the area. Of course, my flask also has been needing that upgrade for at least the last 2 bosses, if not some of the last area. We would have loved to see the last upgrade sooner, just haven't. Of course, we are going to greed and stay in this area without changing the flask. Ooh, that little wind blast did a lot of damage. Go see if I can find my rolling pet drop over here. I'd love to get that. This one didn't have to put it before. Guess I won one. Get up, did I? Mana drain. Mana drain doesn't mean for our build. Although I think it would do anything if we had it. Ooh.
Wilds take you.
Now I did our roots. It's not good. Again, that's some places like our... Excusez-moi. Which checkpoint is this? Oh, freight one. Good. So we just need to find ritual altar. there's a little path there.
Die! Fiend.
There's the farmland. Yeah, you better. Yeah, I think volcano is like one of the first things I want to get rid of. Fast animation, placeable DPS. Its usefulness has almost run out, at least in terms of its usefulness for my build. Sure, with Wyvern build where you can set up the oiled ground effectively.
Nature's fury.
The big slap level up. You found the ritual. We have fallen and can't get up. We've died or tripping. No, nothing. Alright, I think that's our sign to go.
I have a... How do I... A little what? See, will you pay them a visit? Take a punt. You know you want to. Buy that.
And a good chance to identify a new talent. 53 physical damage. Oh, we lose some crit chance. That's a little bit sad. We lose some attack speed. That's sad. Adds 8 to 11 physical. Doesn't have the fire. Doesn't have the attack speed. I don't love that. Okay, now that's feeling pretty freaking good. Let's check our skills DPS here. Right now, Lunar Assault 37, Shred 107, 161 and 58. So a straight upgrade. Would love to see that.
Why, look, it's out. None of it's junk. Deal.
Do not use the wand. We do not have one.
Farewell,
But
hero.
while we are here, we might as well check. I don't think I care to make the wand. Okay. Ooh, that's a good one. Ooh, all very good. Let's see those. % increased magnitude chill. We'll probably get this one. Let's actually, before we head back out, let's just see what we can support this with. An additional charge. Sure, why not? Hello, friend. You just waited here for me? I'm a freaking wyvern.
Creature's fury.
I'm just jealous. Ooh, oh, excuse me, sir.
Nature takes what's owed.
Been trying, but of course. Little monkeys. Oof, 3 hit back. We've had some excellent luck with the talismans thus far. If this is any indication of what level of quote-unquote tuning they gave the talismans, I am very pleased. Okay. Running through closed doors. A classic.
Feathers
I
and
do not
filth.
think we can kill
This is
this man
no
on one
honor of the
rotation,
Lord.
but we will try our damnedest to do it. Oh, we did freeze him. Oh, he unfroze very quickly.
Where do you think you're going?
The slap on the back. Ooh.
The scream to split the sky.
Once again, we missed our opportunity to keep the edge of the sky like an idiot. Might as well stop this dude while we have the chance. Ooh, nicked him in the ass with that one. Oh, we're gonna get him on this rotation. We're just gonna slap the crap out of him. Oh yeah.
Silence.
And an Exile
Bloody
board,
last.
we love that. Again, with mini bosses, make sure you pick up everything, even if it's loot you will not use. If you don't, it will not mark them complete on your map. This is not a very good item. This one is very good. We'll use the book immediately. Then we'll hit chance, skill speed, 5% damage taken recoup this fight. Definitely want the extra damage. Flat damage increase, the percentage damage increase early when you good per build. Our numbers is higher with the auto attacks. One thing I need to test, or TBD, on how it will work out. I do want to see which stats are most effective for leveling purposes for this build. So implicitly, one stat between strength, dex, and is going to be the best level for this build. One of them is going to give me more DPS or attack speed or something. I just need to figure out which one that is, and that's the one that I'm going to focus on leveling first. Obviously, newer players again, in all opportunities, you should take that are off-brand. You can see that support gens have stat requirements like int, strength. Don't hesitate to take a strength attribute node or a int attribute node, even if you are a dex class, especially if you're doing what I am doing, looking through the support gem tree to find powerful support gems. Some builds use non-recommended, like as you can see that recommended, Many builds use non-recommended but very good gems and slots that require you to have a certain stat payout. An important call out for using, I guess, pre-built builds in that sense is if you're using them, just be very careful to check what their requirements are, check what stats you need, and again, if you're following a build off a site like Maxroll or others, many of them will tell you which stats they're using. They'll tell you when you need to take a certain attribute or when you don't. Make sure to pay attention to that. You can easily lock yourself out of a build unknowingly if you do not pay attention to who I got ganged up on. You can easily get locked out of support gems if you're not paying attention. Now, restatting really is not all that expensive, especially if you're like me and you sell every piece of gear you get that you use. Certainly it will slow down your game to pick up every piece of gear, so I don't want to suggest you sit there and just pick up everything. But I do think for certain times there is a very good argument to be made that you should pick up most stuff. Going to town more often obviously will slow down your leveling a little bit, but for me I don't notice really a meaningful impact. I'd rather have the money to be able to rescale or even change my build entirely if I wanted to, rather than starting a new character. Plus, sometimes you find a cool item you can put on trade market. Again, if you participate in trade, you can end up getting an item that's great for someone. Random. You can imagine how bad you would feel to miss out on Exile boards just because you didn't pick up a random item in the overworld. In terms of that last fight, though, I do think it's point proven that some enemy and rare types will actually screw you. Players new to the game, the enemy with that giant blue field was draining my mana the whole time. So very hard to kill him with auto attacks when he's got a million dudes ganking me, and I do not have mana to do the one thing that my build wants to do, which is freeze a bunch of dudes and then hit them. That being said, I still do feel pretty good about the power of the build. Obviously, I'm having some sustain issues within the context of properly managing my enemies. I think I'm being way greedy with the way that right now, not nearly respecting the enemies enough. You'll see how much that plays into certain mechanics of the game. I would love to drop the talisman that prevents poisoning, though. Okay, that wasn't so bad. I would have thought Ritual would be a little bit worse.
Wow, this is...
And we got a skill gem. Awesome. Love to see skill gems early. Oh, wait, that's a rare. We picked that up. That's one. Self farm. Okay, I think we explored most of it. Let's build the best checkpoint and go to the Fray Thorn. was up here. So obviously I've skipped Finn's dialogue, but basically he asks you to come here and check things out. And we're about to find out these people have been doing some real naughty shit. Again, fair warning for new players. This area actually has like a ton of enemies. We're gonna see that as I explore here, but this place is just full of cultists. Most annoying of whom are pastors, who absolutely will beat your ass. Currently beating my This area also has a pretty hard boss. I think for, I won't call it the weaker classes, but the classes without a lot of movement capability, without escape skills, you can very easily die to the boss.
Who are you?
God, please.
Oh, it's all cultists. Oops, all cultists. In terms of priority for enemies, I would always suggest to kill the witches first. The cultist witches will curse you, for the summon enemies that curse you.
Pack's heavy enough already.
And they can be an absolute pain.
Greetings.
Yes? Feeling lucky?
Fire resistance could be nice. But this isn't better. This one's better.
Deal.
This one might be a good one to trade. This is good. Physical damage to attack, lightning damage to attacks, max type dexterity, and we get life on kill.
Yeah, sure. I'll take it off your hands. Farewell, hero.
That'll be good for some point leveling.
I don't know how to. It's in my. Stay safe, if you can.
I guess as a side note, unless you're power leveling with someone, playing alone, I would recommend taking as many of those side quests as you can stomach. A great deal of those side quests reward you with specialization points, usually 2. And it's just so good to be able to get more skill points. It effectively gives you 2 free levels. 2 free levels is never a bad thing, especially in the early game. In the early game, I would say you should prioritize level much more. Again, unless you're very confident in your class. Maybe you have friends who can carry you through content, or if you have done avoid level. I always recommend doing all the quests just for the sake of getting these specialization points. Even with playing with friends, I would say just have them do the quest with you. It's so valuable to get plus skill points. Again, it's in the late game, it can be very hard to hit not hard to hit level 100, but it can take a long time. There are like, I don't want to call them EXP cliffs, but there basically is a cliff, especially level 95 and above. I've heard that level 80 and intermittent levels in that realm are extremely hard to get out of. In the character load screen, you can see I have a ranger from last season. I'd like to highlight I barely played last season. I am also newer to the game, but not newer to the genre. Played with D4, other games. Love these type of games. Nice quote-unquote first Philly. But as it pertains to this game, just really wanted to get into it because the D4 ecosystem was getting a bit weird and worrisome. Obviously, the microtransactions. And I was interested to see this game in particular handle its classes. Always heard good things about Fury 2. I won't lie, I got very bored of Fury 1. Found the game much too complex, not rewarding. Fun to play, somewhat, but very, very hard. Classified as a game that people would generally love, but could easily hate. And I wouldn't blame anyone for saying that they did not want to invest the time to learn PoE well. And this game is vastly better, I think. But again, in these types of games, I think this is fair to say on the gender level, even in World of Warcraft, even in D4, for the last update, one of the best things to do was to run around the map, finding the Lilith statues and getting the 3 levels, so that if you ever leveled a Twink, that would be like a character that's a secondary character that you save gear for, so that you can basically go in day one. What you can do in D4 would be you have a bunch of skill points, potentially Paragon points, which would basically allow you to pre-power level yourself, effectively giving you level 10 at level 1. Obviously that system has changed now, doesn't work the same, so sadly you don't get that same power level. But in the case of this game, what makes going after those quests so good is you get the benefit of being, let's say at level 10, if you get 2 books, you're basically level 14. There's not many times where just being level 14 won't be good. You're getting base stat increases. You're getting the chance to take passive nodes earlier than you might have otherwise. Getting a really good glimpse into the power level of your class. And then obviously you're getting access to more powerful abilities. You're getting access to better skill gens. There's really just no downside aside from some of the time it takes. I would say if you're playing solo, it's just very good to do the quests, not only to get experience, but to get the books. For myself, I like to get into post-game. Last time when I reached maps, I was already level, I want to say like 65. Maps, again, I was late to last season, so I was not mapping efficiently, wasn't really using them for anything. But there is something to be said about rushing straight to maps. Maps can easily give you better gear, but I found some of my best gear in the open world, just playing quests. And I think the story is not bad at all. I do hope they improve a little bit in the end of the interludes. Hopefully in the 4 game releases there will be 6 full acts with something to do. Right now the interlude act without spoilers is a little bit disappointing. It's kind of like a cop-out. In terms of the interludes, I don't know that I would recommend everyone play them. I don't think they have the same quality as the main story. Really, if you're playing them, you'd be playing them to try and farm skill tomes, because a lot of the interlude acts have skill tome reward quests. So, oh, he was first. And I jumped away. Okay, so to jump away, I need to do that. But that all said, again, being level 60 and getting access to a level 70 power spike, that could be very good. That could be very powerful, especially if you hit a wall in terms of your gear. That could be the one thing that you ended up needing. This guy is going to transform. Really don't want him to do that. I'm going to try and stop him. He's going to. So this is the boss I was mentioning in this area. He can be quite challenging. You'll see a very small red circle that spawns under me at times. That small circle is a very hard-hitting stun. And obviously the orbs, they do a lot of damage. There's this area is hard specifically because he does chaos damage. Okay, so I'm just through. Let's jump out there. Take down the volcano. I would love it if he could spawn some food for me to eat. Oh, I am stuck. Ooh, I died. Okay, I got stunned by their dupes.
Down you'll go.
A little bit annoying to have to do the ritual over and over again, but it is what it is. This time we will try not to waste any potions, and we will try to pay attention to when he is stunned. Oh yeah, look at that DPS. Ah, almost one phase. I'm actually not so certain if it's possible to one phase this guy. Sure, it must be. If you ever get this little circle on you, if you get far enough away from him, right, it won't cast. Or the cast will miss you. It's hard to say what is happening. Like volcano. So for them beeps. Oh yeah, look at that. This is like a great rotation. You actually probably could just kill him straight out. And be good. I won't explain rituals.
So
The game explains them pretty well.
Oh, how good it is
We
to
already
see
have a
you
fire
again.
one. I'm going to take ice. If you're playing this game the first time and you do not have a charm, I would recommend ice. The area boss for Act 1, or I should say the Act 1 end boss, he applies a huge amount of freeze.
Eva.
Yes,
But
it tell me.
I feel
Remember, not and when
I
hush that
I
and yet
nay.
just know that I am with you.
It's weird.
Wait! Didn't leave me now.
It said we would come through here and we would go up there, so let's follow through on that. When you're done areas like this, it's a good thing to check them up. Make sure you hit everything. Sometimes maps have hidden treasure, as we saw in the last area. The catacombs had treasure. I actually think I missed a treasure in the guys area, but many of these areas have small mini bosses. We saw the Crowbell over here. We saw the sprites summon, or the treants summon their big treant dude. And that will be all for today. Thank you for watching.